We welcome in the brand new head coach of the Northwestern State Demons, former LSU Tiger player, Blaine McCorkle. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Right now your phone's struggling. See if we can wait that
Is
out.
that better?
There we go. Now we got you.
All right.
How's things?
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, well, happy to have you. Obviously, a time of transition right now. Let's before we kind of get into the Northwestern stuff, let's get into you and your background. Belhaven was your first real head coaching job. Turned them around. Have the LSU background as a player. Kind of give us some indication of what this means for you to kind of come full circle back to Louisiana as a Division I head coach.
Well, it's special for me, and it's something that I've thought about and dreamed about and prayed about for, 26 years, I guess, since however long it is. But I first went to Louisiana in August of 1995 as a freshman and just absolutely fell in love with the state, just with the people, the culture, the passion, the food, the whole thing. And love for college football, and, stayed there 5 years, the best 5 years of my life, and went on my coaching journey, really all over the country, 3 schools in Tennessee, 2 in Virginia, 1 in Delaware, now in Mississippi. And that whole time I've worked to get back to what I want to call my home, and that's the state of Louisiana. So I'm really excited to do that and ready to get to work at Northwestern State.
How did you end up at LSU to start with?
That's a great question. So,
well, thank you. I like to ask great questions, Coach. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. So I was originally going to Auburn.
Okay.
I was a walk-on long snapper, which means I was small and slow and weak. But I knew I wanted to play at that level. I had a cousin at the time playing at the University of Florida, and God delivered me from that evil. So we'll move on from that. But anyway, he was doing really well at Florida on some special teams, and I knew I could snap. And I was like, well, shoot, if he can do it, I can do it. And I was going to Auburn. My dad was a coach for 47 years in high school and college. At the time, he was coaching high school, and he went over to visit LSU and told them, some friends he had on staff, that I was going to Auburn to long snap. And they're like, well, great, good luck. And he comes back, and 2 weeks later, they asked me if I wanted to change my mind. And as I mentioned, God delivered me from that evil on the plains, and I was able to beat Auburn 3 out of 4 times. 3 out of 4 times I was there, and ended up just falling in love with it.
Yeah, it's crazy how things like that happen, right? Where you think you're going somewhere. I do have to ask you this. You mentioned the food. The first time we had Rick Cabrera, the Northwestern State basketball coach, on, he's a New York native. He was in Florida for a while, and I'm talking about, hey, let me give you some restaurant, because I'm a foodie. I'm kind of a bigger dude. I'm basically the size of a freshman offensive lineman. And so, I'm like, hey, let me give you some recommendations. And we find out that he's allergic to shellfish.
Well,
and I'm like, Coach, you're going to die. Like, you're going to die in Natchitoches if you're allergic to shellfish. I hope you're okay with shellfish. I just want to make sure you're not also going to die, Coach.
Well, I will tell you, last night after the press conference, we went to Mayu's down there on the main street there.
Perfect. Front street. Yep.
I had a big piece of redfish covered up in shrimp, so I'm good to go.
Perfect. You didn't swell up and die, so you made it.
I was looking for more.
Yeah, and you got to enjoy the Christmas lights, which is basically the perfect time to be in Natchitoches. That's for sure. Hey, what did you know about Northwestern State prior to this? Because you were at LSU. You obviously have been in Louisiana, so you're going to kind of be familiar with the state schools within Louisiana. What did you know about NSU coming into this?
Well, actually, I knew a lot. As I mentioned, it's something that I've thought about and dreamed about for a long time. So, a lot of my career has been spent at the FCS level. So when you're at that level, you pay attention to the other programs at that level around the country and who's doing what. And I've always studied the Southland really close because I knew I wanted to come back home. And I knew that would be a good niche for me. So all the schools in the Southland I've kept a close eye on for a long, long time. So I paid close attention, and, I track scores, and I kind of know who's coaching where and who's doing what. And so I did my homework, and I kind of know exactly what I'm getting into, and I'm excited for it. I know it's going to be a challenge, and we've got a lot of work to do, but that's what makes it fun.
Well, and that you kind of lead me into one of the areas I wanted to get into, and that is the challenge of Northwestern State, and not simply because they haven't had a winning season since 2008. The resources are what they are, and I know Kevin Boston is working hard to amp up the resources that are available, make it a more competitive money environment when it comes to Northwestern. There's a new field house weight room that's going in. That's going to be really nice. a new kind of athletics complex. But I'm curious but also specifically what's gone down this year with the cancellation of the season and obviously what happened with Ronnie Caldwell and all of that. Was any of that a deterrent or anything that gave you pause as you were pursuing this opportunity?
No, not at all. If anything, it might have encouraged me a little bit more. It's heartbreaking, and my heart goes out to the Caldwell family and the entire Natchitoches and NSU community, because that's a brutally tough thing to go through. And we've talked a lot, and I know Kevin's mentioned this about we're not moving on because we always want to remember and acknowledge what happened, but we do have to move forward. And I truly believe that God's calling all my life is to mentor and grow young men, and I love football, so I'm gonna partner the two together. And I think I can help the young men in that program with the healing process while building the football program at the same time. I kind of made the comment in my press conference yesterday, what this football team needs is a big hug, and then somebody turn around and kick them right in the tail and put them to work.
Right.
That's what we're going to do.
It's interesting because Lance Leipold is a good friend of mine. I used to be on the Tim Brando show back in the day nationally. Leipold sent us a helmet when he was at Wisconsin Whitewater, winning all those national championships at the D3 level. Yep. And I think it's interesting because coaches at the D3 level are used to working with less, right? No scholarships. You have to kind of find a way around that. You have to deal with less money. And so I think if you can be successful at the D3 level, you can be successful anywhere. It just means you're a good coach and you understand how to work with what you have allotted. I'm curious how much you think that background will help you as Northwestern tries to be more competitive in the money game, add more resources, the field house that we talked about. As that stuff is starting to grow a little bit, how do you feel like you can be able to help tackle that in the interim?
Well, I appreciate you saying that about Division III coaches and Lance. Lance is kind of the marquee for all of us trying to do this. Just this morning, I had some back and forth with Chris Wilkerson, who's the head coach at Eastern Illinois, who came from the University of Chicago, which is a Division III. And he had a lot of success this year at Eastern Illinois. We were talking about the transition. And then, Braxton Harris in the Southland at Houston Christian is traditionally a Division III coach, and he's completely turned them around in 1 year. So I think there's a different relationship sometimes in Division III that you have to have with the players because you don't have those resources. And I think that plays to your advantage when you go to a bigger place because all of a sudden the players feel you a little bit different. They know you're coming from a different place and you're doing it for the right reasons. But as far as the resources at Northwestern State, I think they're great, where I'm coming from. So I'm excited about what we have. In all my interview process and dealings with Kevin Bastian, he has an unbelievable vision and drive for what he wants that athletic department to be, and I'll be back over there. I'm in Jackson right now packing my office as we speak, but I'll be back tomorrow morning for the groundbreaking for that new strength facility. And, as he walks around the building with you, all he does is point and show you what's next, and I think that's great, that he's working really hard to leave his mark and make sure the resources are right. So I've got a lot of confidence in what's there now that we can work with. And I'm really excited about what's coming and what the vision is.
Well, the interesting thing that I've always said about Northwestern is whoever built that stadium back in 1977, I think is when it was built, the year I was born, and not too far from when you were born at the same time. When that stadium was built, somebody had a lot of forethought in what they did because that is a really nice FCS stadium. The locker rooms could be a little better, weight room, whatever. The visiting locker rooms could be better, but just the stadium itself is really good for that level. And that thing's 50 years old almost. So the bones are there, right? The foundation is there at Northwestern State for it to be a winning program. It's just a matter of kind of finding the right polish to put on it. I'm curious, what was the first conversation? I'm assuming you've talked to the team at this point. Give us an idea of what that conversation was like.
Yeah, I met with the team, I guess it was Tuesday morning, and it was more introductory. I had them go around the room and stand up and introduce themselves to me, so I knew who I was looking at. It's going to take me a while. There's 60 of them and one of me, but I'll get them back. And then just kind of shared on my history and, my vision, my standards. And I wanted to make sure in that first team meeting we started establishing some standards and culture right off the bat. I wanted to make sure that they felt me, and understood who I was. And we had some corrections in that meeting right away, because, there's some work to do, and there's some culture to build, and we're going to work hard to do that. but I enjoyed it. Working with college-age young men, as I mentioned, I really believe that's the call on my life, and I just enjoy being around guys that age and watching them respond to discipline, correction. People crave discipline, and you could kind of see those guys responding well to it. So it was good, and I'm excited for the next one. I kind of hate that you get there and then everybody goes on Christmas break and you don't see them for a month.
Right.
But when I get them back, I'm really looking forward to going to work with them and going to recruit to add to them. And on that real quick, you talk about the resources.
Sure.
The resources are the players. And, Shreveport, Ruston, Monroe, Alexandria, Lake Charles, you just name it. Those are the resources, and there is so much talent in the state of Louisiana that we can go get. And that's the most important resource you have as the players, and we're going to go find them.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, in the age of the transfer portal, it used to be at the FCS level, and this from being there, used to be at the FCS level, you'd get guys who went to the LSUs or the Houstons, went to the higher level, didn't make it for whatever reason, couldn't get on the field. They dropped down and be eligible immediately because the only way they could be eligible immediately was dropping down. Now everyone gets the free transfer year, and everyone can be eligible immediately once when they transfer. And that has, of course, made things insane in college football. I don't mind it, but I know as a coach, it's got to be just crazy to try to work through the transfer portal where there's 1,500, 2,000 guys out there, and you're trying to figure out what you're filling. How do you even go about trying to kind of wrap around the transfer portal and make sure that you're getting the freshmen and young guys that you want to get, but also you're getting pieces that can come in and benefit you immediately?
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to build our program, the core of our program, with high school players. We always will. And what we'll do is we'll make sure when they come in, we make sure that they don't want to go anywhere else other than Northwestern State. We're going to make sure that they understand that's the greatest place in the world. It's a perfect place for them, and we're going to grow them and develop them and make them alums that have been there their whole career. But at the same time, the portal is the world we live in today. And I think you have to be very careful when you go fill in your bits and pieces that you don't just grab anybody. Guys are in the portal for a reason. Let's be honest about that, because something wasn't just right. So I think for us at Northwestern State, year one, our portal guys need to be probably the graduate students, probably the older guy, the guy that's, on the verge of graduating, that's kind of established himself and has some maturity to him, not the young guy that's just trying to bail and look for something better. Because the first thing we've got to do is build standards and culture. And I don't think we can do that right away, bringing in just a wholesale pile of portal guys that are just running from something.
Right.
They got to be running from something, not away from something.
Sure. Talking to Blaine McCorkle, the head coach of Northwestern State. Give me an idea. What's the identity of? Obviously the tenets off the field, the toughness and hardworking and all of that. But what's the on the field product look like? Are we talking air raid? Are we talking balance? Are you because you were a long snapper? Do you just punt all the time? What's kind of give me an idea? You just want your long snapper out there as much as you can have him. No, what's the identity of Northwestern State football and your football identity?
Yeah, well, I will tell you, we had 3 or 4 games here at Belhaven the last couple of years where we did not punt in the game. So that guy stays off the field. Yeah, he can snap all the extra points he wants, but we'll stay away from the punts. But no, actually, the first play we always teach is the punts, most important play in the game, because there's so much momentum can change with that one. But no, identity-wise, toughness is real. I like a fast, physical football team. And I think one of the mistakes that a lot of people are making in coaching these days, especially at the high school level, is everybody's so busy trying to out-guru each other that they forget to coach the game. So the first thing we're going to do is teach our kids to block and tackle and get in a good stance and go back to football 101. But offensively, we are, if you put us in a box, you would call us a pro-style offense. Okay. What you see on Sunday is what we do. We're probably 50-50 under center and in the gun. We're probably 50-50 in the huddle and tempo. So we do mix that up pretty good. But we're going to play with a tight end. We're going to play with a fullback a good bit, and we're going to start there. I've spent 20-plus years as an offensive line coach, and we're going to build our offense around the 5 guys up front. And they're going to be tough and fast and physical, and whatever they do will dictate what we can do as an offense. I think if you start off with a tight end and fullback, you can grow your offense into anything you want it, because you just evolve from there because you've got the basics down. But when you start off in empty or 10 personnel right off the bat, if you get in a bind, you can never control a game that gets away from you,
Yeah.
So I really believe in pure football 101, line up and play, and then that allows you to grow. So we're always going to start in that 21 personnel, if you want to call it that, but the majority of our offense does look like 11, does look like 20. It's what you see on Sunday as a whole.
Right.
defensively, being an offensive line coach my whole career, when I became a head coach, I was going to build my defense around what gave me the most trouble as an offensive line coach. Okay, so with that, the biggest things you have to block that give you a hard time are a 3-down front. So we will be a 3-down front.
Okay.
There's a lot of ways you can make that look. And, a lot of people have this crazy idea that you can't stop the run with a 3-down front. Well, they don't know football, because a 3-down front can be a run killer because the fits are just different for the guys up front. And it's different. And it's kind of like running the wishbone on offense. It's just a different animal. So that's where we'll start on both sides of the ball. And our kick game, you mentioned me being a long snapper, is crucial. A year ago here at Belhaven, we led the nation in block kicks, and we were third in the nation in block punts. So we're going to be aggressive in the kick game, because I guess a third of the game, and there's a lot of momentum that can be changed there in a hurry. So we will have a huge emphasis on that for sure.
Well, I will tell you this: you got a good long snapper in Natchitoches. He's an Evangel kid from up here in Shreveport. So I know you got. I'll just put it to you this way: on our broadcast, we never said his name, and as you know, as a long snapper, if I never mention you, that means you've done your job.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Every now and then I'll meet that old LSU fan who knows who I was. And I'm like, well, you are a real fan if you know who I was.
Yeah.
I made a living not being noticed.
Yeah, that's the best way to go about it. Finally, Coach, just Natchitoches in general, the area. You mentioned how fertile the recruiting grounds of Louisiana are. We all know that. But being able to come in and integrate yourself into the community. Is that something that you sit down and you plan out almost like an itinerary? Hey, I need to go here, 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 here. Is it hey, we just go out as much as we can and kind of sort of organically meet folks? How do you go about trying to ingratiate yourself into the community that is Natchitoches? Well,
I mentioned this when we were having dinner last night there down on Front Street, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
That, I grew up a coach's kid. And one of the things that my dad always taught me growing up, and he didn't really do it himself, we moved around a lot, was that every time you take a job, you take it like it's the last job you're ever going to have.
Right.
If Northwestern State's the last job I ever have, well, I'm going to retire there and I'm going to be there forever. I better become a part of the community. So my wife and my family were really excited to get there and get to know the people and experience the Christmas stuff and experience the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame in the summertime and, get out on the lake a little bit. We'll do that. Find a church home. We want to find a good church home there to go to and be as much a part of the community as we can. So we're excited to get there. I think that the town has a lot to offer. And, I did move around a lot as a kid, but we were in a lot of small towns. Always kind of considered myself a small town guy. So I'm excited to get there and be a part of it.
All right. Finally, since I couldn't really help Rick Cabrera, is there anything you need food-wise from me? In terms of suggestions where to go. I live in Shreveport, so if you need any Shreveport advice, I'm up here. But obviously we come down there, eat a bunch there. I will tell you, first and foremost, get to French Market, which is the gas station on I-49. Rogers, the legend, my producer, and myself, that's our favorite place to go. If you're leaving town, just stop in and get you a few meat pies, get you, I love a corn dog from there. But the meat pies are legendary. Obviously, Lazione's on 2nd Street is the originator of the Natchitoches meat pie. So you got to get in there. You can't go wrong with food in Natchitoches. It's wonderful. And, of course, you're there in the right season for the Christmas lights and the Christmas festival. Make sure you're there on the weekend so you get to see the fireworks downtown, all of that. You're there at the right time, Coach. That's all I'm saying. You're coming in at the right time. The players may be gone, but everything in Natchitoches is lit up and bright when you're down there.
Well,
so.
I appreciate. You got my number, so you text me your top 5, and I'll rank it.
Yeah, I'll need a review at some point. And just so you know, when you're on the road, I am a certified barbecue judge, and I'm a big barbecue guru, maven, whatever. When games, especially in Texas, if you're in Texas, you need advice on good barbecue, please text me. I have all of the advice you need, my friend. I will take care of you.
Well, you'll appreciate this. When I was at the University of Richmond, my center was a kid named Nick Virgos, which is Charlie Virgos' grandson.
There you go.
Rendezvous.
There you go. No, it's not a bad spot. So, yeah.
Yeah, he was fun to recruit, I'll tell you that.
I would imagine. I wonder where you'd go to recruit Virgo's kid at the Rendezvous.
Yeah. When I went up to visit, his dad told me, you sign my son, you'll eat those ribs the rest of your life, and he held up to it.
Okay.
So.
Hey. Yeah. Can't argue with that sales point. It would get me. I can promise you that. I don't care. I don't care if his kid was 5'6", 110 pounds, and couldn't run out of sight in a week. I'd sign that kid. You kidding me?
Well, he was an all-conference player, so it worked out good for both of us.
That's even better. It's even better when he's good. Coach, pleasure to virtually meet you. Looking forward to really meeting you here, hopefully at one of the basketball games upcoming. We get down there. Enjoy yourself. Obviously, we're very excited to have you down there, and best of luck to you in the off season.
All right. Thanks for having me. Look forward to talking to you again.
All right. That's Blaine McCorkle, the head coach of the Northwestern State Demon football team.